They're dead, Dave.
What, Captain Hollister?
Everybody's dead, Dave.
What, Todd Hunter? What, Selby? Not Jen.
He's dead, Dave. Everybody is dead. Everybody is dead, Dave.
Hello there, everyone. Welcome back to Everybody's Dead Day of our Red Dwarf Review podcast, featuring myself, Adam Martyn, and as always, my co-host.
That's me, Phil Hawkins. Hello.
That's him indeed. If you're new, welcome. Good to have you here. If you are new, the concept is Phil is a long-time Red Dwarf fan of several years. I am a relative newbie. Copyright of this podcast, thank you very much. I'm a relative newbie. Everything you see here, I'm watching for the very first time. It's certainly been quite the experience, and 8 series in, or 9, I guess. So we're 9 series in, and I'm still here, so this show must be doing something right. But today, we've got something a little bit left field, a little bit special. We're going to be talking about Tongue-Tied, the video.
Do you make me tongue-tied, tongue-tied, whenever you are near me?
Now, I'm sure,
Yes.
Phil, some people might be thinking, wait, what? You're just going to talk about the 2-minute segment in Series 2 that you already did a bajillion episodes ago?
No.
Oh, no. Do you want to explain exactly what this is we're covering today?
Yeah, well, so Tongue-Tied, the great song at the beginning of Parallel Universe. Brilliant song performed by Danny John Jules and some lovely dancing from the rest of the crew as well.
Yes.
But 5 years after that episode aired, to the day, I believe, they released it, he re-recorded it, and released a single. This is Danny John Jules released it as a single, and it had an accompanying music video.
It did.
And it's not your average music video.
No, it's very much of that era when, you know, it wasn't... I feel we've gone full circle. Like, when music videos started in the early 80s, it was just for, like, the song length, wasn't it? And then you had people like Michael Jackson and Madonna adding, like, stories to their... around the music.
This definitely reminded me of Michael Jackson and the whole... like opening segments of the Moonwalker film, which were basically extended music videos of stories, or like Thriller and things like that, where they had these long drawn out. But even with Michael Jackson and anything else, I don't think I've ever seen a music video with so little music in it compared to the length of the video.
The music is, it definitely in the minority, but this came out in 1993, and would you believe, dear listener, it actually made the top 40 here in the UK. It actually peaked at number 17 in the charts, which is, I mean, to us that's not surprising. We love this song, but I'm got to admit, Phil, when I first read that, I was quite surprised that it did that well. But I guess this is around the time of Series 6.
To be honest, like novelty TV tie-ins tend to actually do quite well. I'm pretty sure at some point Bob the Builder has been number 1 in the UK charts.
Well, funny, Bob the Builder has been number 1 twice in the UK charts, would you believe? So, we love a bit of novelty. But I don't know if you read upon this, Phil, but listeners might know as well. Little fun fact, Tongue-Tied actually had origins before Red Dwarf, the series.
It did indeed, and I only found this out today as well. I didn't know this.
It's quite interesting, isn't it? It was written by Rob Grant and Doug Naylor. They are the originators of it, but it was originally made for a BBC Radio 4 series, Son of Cliché, back in 1983. And it's sort of apparently a similar vibe. I have read that it is available on the Body Snatcher collection as a special feature.
Oh,
which I'm guessing is on my Blu-ray somewhere, but I haven't found it. So if you have the Blu-ray or the Body Snatcher collection, you'll find that original version on there. But I just thought that was pretty cool that they repurposed it for Red
they
Dwarf.
did that with a few things as well, didn't they? Because some of the scenes in other episodes are based off of, I can't remember the name, Dave Hollis, the Space Cadet, I think it's something like that, or it's Dave something, Space Cadet.
Yeah.
So some of the scenes are directly lifted from those sketches as well. So I think they did repurpose quite a bit from their sketch show. But the thing I read as well said that this 1993 version was released 10 years to the day after that version, which and then I looked up the parallel universe episode air date, and that was 5 years in between. So it's smack bang in the middle. So 5 years after it was on Radio 4, it was on TV in Red Dwarf, and then 5 years after that, to the day, they released it as a single.
Well, there you go. Nice bit of correlation there.
Nice
Last thing
symmetry.
I'll touch on before we actually get into the video is, again, this is from Wikipedia, so it could easily be wrong. But but this release apparently is not an official BBC or Grant Naylor product.
Oh, interesting.
Apparently, because it said towards the end when it, about home media, it said the radio versions on like the DVDs and Blu-rays. Obviously, the 88 version is because it's in the show. But apparently, the 1993 this version is not on any of the Blu-rays or DVDs because there were clearance issues.
Oh,
So, and when I read
interesting.
that, but then watching the video, that link started to make sense to me, but we'll come to that when we get there. But yes, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is not an official BBC or Grant Naylor endorsed thing. This is
You'd think if they wrote the song, they would have they would have to endorse it at least, even if it wasn't made by them.
Like give
Maybe
them
they
the
licensed
authorization.
it out to
Yeah.
them, but just
Yeah.
didn't make it because they wouldn't be able to release a
Oh no, they
single
wouldn't have
without
just...
paying the relevant rights and stuff, and
like
getting
the
permission from the
licensing fee.
songwriters who are Grant and Naylor. So
Yeah.
it must be they must be official in that capacity, but not made by them.
Yeah, like maybe
They had no
self-funded
involvement in the
or
production of it.
yes, yeah,
Just licensed it out to them.
yeah. Well, we'll see.
Suspect.
Well, we'll see if the influences in production are there. Let's get
Yeah.
into it. So
Yeah, let's
we
get into this. Let's just say this now. 18 minutes
yes,
music
yes,
video.
yeah.
18 minutes.
And yeah, music video, but we'll
In
see.
inverted commas.
In inverted commas. So we actually start with Leo Davis, who in a narration says he works at the Black Island Film Studios. He's a cleaner, and he encounters a black cat on Friday the 13th. Get any good suspicions there? We then get this. This is one thing. So again, this confused me. We get a little rendition of the Red Dwarf theme. I don't recognize who it's sung by. I don't know if it's anyone.
I don't know.
But it's sung by a male, isn't it, as opposed to a woman, as it usually is in the show. Which then makes me think, so it must have been, like you say, endorsed to some degree by Grant Naylor if they're doing the Red Dwarf theme song.
Yeah, they must
In
have
this.
signed off on it at least. I
Yeah.
suspect it just means they weren't involved in the production.
Yeah. To be honest, as we go on, I think they just included it as like remember, it's linked with Red Dwarf, but, we'll get there.
What do you think of the voice that Danny is using? I haven't heard, actually, Danny in real life much, so I don't know what he sounded.
Yeah.
But to me, it sounded like he was overemphasizing the kind of London accent.
Yeah, well, to me, I've got to admit, for the first minute or so, I didn't actually think it was Danny John Jules. I didn't recognize him off the bat. After it was in the wide shots, the long shots. My eyes aren't that good. I couldn't really tell. When it was on the close-ups, I was like, oh yeah, that's of course that's Danny John Jules. But I thought it seemed almost like a pastiche of that sort of, I guess what they call it, modern London accent and demeanor. But then as this goes on, I mean, to counter that point, do you think maybe that's what he was going for, or do you think it's do you know what I mean?
This gets so weird that I don't know what he's going for, to be honest. It's
we
got
keep-
so many different bits to it and
Yeah.
segments to it, and some get really trippy and surreal.
Oh god, I mean, well, one thing that definitely dates this is when he encounters this black cat, he exposes it to his favorite TV show via a portable TV.
Yes.
Which took me straight. Oh god, I haven't seen a portable TV in.
See, I
in
wondered,
years.
I made a note to ask you about that and whether or not you'd actually seen one of these in person or not, because I have, but I'm
Yes.
obviously older than you, so I didn't know if you had encountered them.
I had used one very fleetingly when I was very young, we're talking maybe the very early 2000s, when analog TV was because of course it won't work now, is it? Because they were all analog based receivers, so unless you're in a country that still has analog, you're not going to get anything. But I remember being in a car, and I think my parents, I think they'd had it for a while. It was a colour one, because that was the thing, wasn't it? It's a colour portable TV. It ran on so many batteries and not for very long. And
the
I think I remember
it just was terrible. You could never pick up a very good signal on it.
well, especially when you're in the car. I remember the box it came in had pictures of people in cars, oh, we're watching TV in the car. But because you're always moving, of course the signal's not going to be, So yeah, I do remember portable TVs, but seeing it here, I was like, oh wow, this is 1993. Funny how it's his favourite show, yet we can't see any pictures of the screen. not BBC endorsed, perhaps. Who knows? But we get a bit of claymation, Phil, to start with.
It's definitely not up to the standard of Series 7's claymation that we had in that one episode. Yeah, it's very rudimentary claymation of the cats and some women and Dwayne Dibley. There's a claymation Dwayne Dibley in there.
And this is sort of the start of, like you say, of the insanity that is to follow.
Yeah, we get a hint of the music here. So but it's not gone into the song properly. It's a very distorted kind of version of it.
I was trying to figure out, like, because you hear it is, you hear some of the lyrics, and is it like a vocoder they've got going on? It's been processed electronically, the lyrics, and I thought maybe this was a cut from, because of course this was released as a single back in the day on CD, and I believe it had a vinyl release as well on 12-inch vinyl. So at first I thought, okay, is this one of like the remixes or something?
Well, I want it because later on, I think it comes back later on.
It does,
as a kind of more full version of that. Not with the claymation, but with something else that we'll talk about in a bit. But so I wondered also if it was like a B-side.
Yeah,
it was just another version.
I have to try and track down the vinyl version, see if that's doable. But then Leo wakes up. He's got his boss, Mr. Walker, sort of staring him down with this director person who's very smarmy, and this model called Kit. They have a bit of a tiff, and I wrote the acting seems a little. I wrote stilted. Everything felt a bit, or maybe it was the editing. Everything felt a bit.
I think that's very generous.
Am I being too kind?
Especially with the boss. I mean,
the
boss was. I don't know who plays him, but he wasn't good.
No,
it was terrible. And also there was some really bad ADR on top after.
Oh God,
recorded that wasn't synced up very well. So it's like very obviously ADR recording that they'd recorded separately.
It felt very GCSE drama. Like, we're having an argument. We're going to argue about this. And also, Mr. Walker has that line, like, if you muck up again or whatever, you'll be out on the street with the rest of the brothers.
I cringed.
And and Leo's like, huh? In my head, I was like, no. I was like, surely he didn't mean... And I was like, oh, they did.
Yeah, I mean, the boss is meant to be the bad guy in this story. So it's
but
not that you can't have a racist bad guy. And clearly, it's just like...
In your tongue-tied music video?
Yeah, it's a really random... I mean, the whole thing is just bizarre.
Yeah.
All the acting bits are bizarre.
It's just... Yeah, it was a little cringe, as you say. But then, before we even get time to sort of acknowledge that, Elvis appears. I think it's important to say this is apparently the same actor who played Elvis in Meltdown back in Series 4.
Yes.
And my memory is a bit... he went on to some controversy, I believe. I can't remember what. But I remember we touched on that.
We did touch on it in the previous episode. I can't remember the details, but some... Yeah, I think he was involved in some not very nice
he
stuff.
got into some trouble.
Yes, and stuff you wouldn't want to associate with at all now. But
absolutely. Yeah, if you want to know more, either listen to our Meltdown episode or just give it a Google. I'm sure you can find it. Yeah,
it is the same. It is the same actor. Yeah,
same dude. Yeah. Well, Elvis has a chat with Leo, tries to give him advice about getting the girl, and says, "Hey, well, if you want to get the girl and you feel like you could do it if you were a cat, well, why don't you just be the cat?"
Elvis has a really weird line. No, sorry. Danny's character has a really weird line. Leo has a really weird line in this that again is touches on racism. That I was just like, what is this about? I didn't know anything about it. He says he asks Elvis if he was really a racist and informer for J. Edgar Hoover, and I'm like, I haven't heard. What's the what?
I know Elvis conspiracy theories.
I know.
What does he say? He's like, never too late to change or something like that.
Yeah,
so,
it was just, that was a bit like, oh, okay. Is that a well-known,
theory
about Elvis or known about Elvis? I don't know.
I know when Elvis met President Nixon in 1970, because they made a film about that, but he got a meeting with him. And I think, if I remember rightly, he was trying to convince Nixon to let him join the CIA. But of course Nixon was like, no, you're Elvis Presley. But he pardoned him off politely. But maybe it's from that, and then because J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI, who knows? But like you say, I'd never heard of this conspiracy theory before. And And with the racism angle, because there's a few more lines and the brothers' lines repeated and all this. I know because I've seen him on Twitter. I know Danny quite fairly and rightly is obviously a big advocate against racism and like the industry and all. So maybe I don't know if he was like the lead. Yeah. I don't know if he was. I don't know if he was like the lead creative behind the video. But I don't know that. While some of it comes across as cringe, some of it checked out to me in line with what Danny sort of stands for and believes.
Yeah, and given that most of it comes from the boss guy who's the head of a studio, maybe he was making a point about racism in the film industry and things like that.
Yeah.
It just seemed a really weird place to throw in a random line like that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's odd, but so Leo dreams of being the cat, and he sees Kit, and then the song starts up. This is about 3 minutes in.
4 minutes. I think 4 minutes.
Oh,
it takes 4 minutes to get to the song.
But on the song as well, before we dissect like what we actually see in the video, the song's just as good as ever, isn't it, Phil?
The song is great. I think we've been quite harsh so far on this video, but let's just say now the song is brilliant. We love the song.
It is. And to be honest, like the way what we see, it that feels more like a traditional music video, doesn't it? Like shots of just the cat with like dancers and other characters. It feels more like a video of the day.
Yeah, the song bit is actually a music video. It's kind of like, it's a white background. The cat is dancing. There are
very
women
90s
dancing around him. It is very 90s, very early 90s kind of thing.
Yes.
Kind of feels a bit like a Madonna video in many ways of that era. And the rest of the Red Dwarf cast pop up.
They do, not as their not as their characters in inverted commas.
Most of them, I'd say, apart from Danny himself as Dwayne Dibley, who is definitely in character.
But oddly enough, Robert Llewellyn's here, but not in the Crichton makeup. Which I must admit, the first time they showed them, and you have a quick scan of who's there, I was like, "Who's that?" But then when they did the close-ups, I was like, "Oh, of course, it's Robert Llewellyn." So again, maybe is this that BBC link again that they maybe weren't? But like you say, they clearly did the cat. Well, they did the cat and the Dwayne Dibley. So why not the Crichton?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe
it seems very bizarre, like a mishmash of. We've got some elements of Red Dwarf that are very obviously Red Dwarf, but then we aren't doing other very obvious elements.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. It was very odd, but
and another odd thing is they had like full body versions dancing away of Elvis again. He was involved in this bit.
Yeah.
Craig Charles was there, obviously Robert Llewellyn, and then Danny is Dwayne Dibley. But then you had the floating heads as well, like you did in the original. You had Norman Lovett, but you also had Hattie Hayridge.
You did, which is very odd to see.
And you had Charles Hawkins. Is that how you pronounce his name? I'm sorry if I got that wrong. Hawkins, Augins.
I'd say Hawkins. Yeah, let's go with that.
Charles Hawkins as Queeg, who was the original choreographer for the TV version.
He was.
But then randomly you also have Chris Barry there as a floating head, whereas the other three make sense as floating heads because they've all been floating heads on the TV show. But you did. But why? Maybe they just needed to make up the numbers of make it an even number. And
maybe Chris wasn't available.
Maybe
he wasn't available, and they shot that like footage and so, who knows? But he's not got his H on his head. It's just Chris Barry, which is why it feels weird. Because obviously, these are the characters we recognise so obviously from Red Dwarf. Yet aside from Dwayne Dibley and the cat, and probably it's like you say, Craig Charles you could get away with because it's Craig Charles, but like I say, like Rimmer and Robert Llewellyn and. It's a very bizarre mishmash, especially with Norman as well, because by that point Series 6 is about to come out, so Norman hasn't been Holly since the end of Series 2, where this song comes from. So was Danny just like, "Hey Norman, you free? Do you want to do it?" And he was like, "Yeah, man, let's do it." Because I wrote down in my notes he hadn't appeared at this point. This is 1993. He hadn't appeared for 5 years on Red Dwarf, so it's a fairly long time. And then it would be another 4 years before he appeared again. So this feels like a very random place for him to come back.
I don't know what else he was doing at the time. Maybe he was probably still friends with guys, I imagine. Maybe he just did it for that reason. Maybe, it's a paycheck after all. Why not?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it begs the question though, doesn't it? If he could do that, sure, it's not a long project, but if he could do that, was he not free for Series 6 at the time? Or maybe they just committed to having Hattie and weren't bothered about maybe even sharing it or something. You could ask all these questions, couldn't you, from this? But yeah, it was a surprise to see Norman Lovett for me.
Yeah, it was nice. You know, gotta get a bit of Norman Lovett in there occasionally.
Yeah.
I think the funniest line in the whole thing, because I was listening a bit to the lyrics, was
Whenever you're in town, my trousers they go round, girl.
"Whenever
Yeah,
you're
there-
in town, my trousers they..." I can't remember the tune of that bit now. But,
There are some lines when you go like, "Ooh, okay."
Oh, it was. I found it funny.
No, it made me laugh, and I was like, "Wow, okay, that's what we're going for."
It's like, oh
But,
yeah, we're definitely in the innuendo territory now.
We're there. My favorite line, and you could argue it's quite juvenile, but I think I like it more musically, like the way it's all arranged. It's the start of the second verse when it's the bit where they all go reproductive system, baby. I don't know what it like musically. That sounds really good, and to my ears, I'm like, that's the best bit.
Okay.
Lyrically, it's the most juvenile, but I'm like, yeah, that sounds really good.
I thought of birds and bees.
You just saying that reproductive system, baby, has like sparked a memory in my head of. Have you ever seen Grease 2?
Yes. Oh, the reproduction
The
song.
reproduction song.
Reproduction.
Reproduction.
And there's that really deep voice guy. Was he? Where does the pollen go? Because it's all about It's if you haven't seen Grease 2, it's a very cringy, like on the nose song. What they're learning about? Well, reproduction of plants, isn't it? In
I
class,
think so.
and then
Yeah, it's been a while.
For
since
no
I've seen
reason
it.
whatsoever, they just start singing about reproducing as humans. Grease 2 is a weird film, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Total side tangent. Very bizarre. I wouldn't say a bad film necessarily, but
no.
a very odd film. Very
Yeah.
odd film.
Definitely.
Maybe we should just do a random episode about Grease 2. Who knows? I'd be down for that.
New spin-off podcast about musicals. Let's do it.
Obscure musical
Obscure
sequels.
musicals.
That'd be one. So after the song plays its 4 minutes, we return to Leo, who is woken up by
Sort of mid-kiss, isn't he? Because throughout the song,
mid-kiss,
he's
yeah.
been trying to like we should say he's the cat in the song bit.
in the music video.
In the music
in the
bit,
song.
He's
Yeah,
the
you're
cat, and in a
Yes.
lovely starts. Well, he goes through several outfits, but he's got a lovely tartan number to start with, and then he's in a
Yeah.
white suit later on. You know, as you'd expect from the cat, lots of very flashy outfits.
Oh yes.
But they, what was I going to say? Yeah, so throughout the song, he's kind of pursuing the woman that came in with the boss and the director, and the boss who was telling him off a minute ago. Her name's Kit, and he's been
Yes.
pursuing her throughout the song, and it ends with them kissing, but then Leo wakes up, and he's just kind of kissing the air.
Mm.
And then,
Yes.
and
Yes,
then
he
the
is-
weirdest thing happens.
Yeah, Judge Dredd appears, and yes, that Judge Dredd.
I am the law.
That one. I was a bit like, oh.
Do you think they
Okay.
paid for the rights to Judge Dredd, or do you think they just put
do you
him
know
in
what?
there?
I don't think they paid.
No, I
the
don't
rights.
think they did.
Although this is I don't know how long Judge Dredd had been going on as a comic, but this is 2 years before the Stallone film.
Oh, okay.
So maybe they thought, I don't know, maybe if Judge Dredd wasn't like that big, yet as a character, maybe they thought they could get either the licensing was, a lot lower, or maybe they thought they could just, as you say, get away with it. I don't know, but yeah, Judge Dredd is is here and berates him for not being a man and dancing around like a Nancy boy, he says specifically, I think, or dancing around like a Nancy, which, okay, very, 1993.
Danny calls him
but-
RoboCop.
He does cut, which is a big insult apparently
Yeah.
for Judge Dredd. He does not like that.
And then it gets even weirder, because then another Judge Dredd, not that character, comes on.
No.
And apparently there's a Judge Dredd who, as Leo describes him, is a old white guy singer of dirty reggae songs. And he comes on and has
He
a
does.
go at the comic book Judge Dredd for stealing his name. It's the
And then-
weirdest thing.
I know. And then when he asks advice from Leo, asks Judge Dredd reggae Dredd advice, he says talk dirty to her, which just feels very uncomfortable. But I think it was meant to be. And then they have as the camera zooms in, they have like a finger war or something. When they start like fighting, they're doing like back and forth with their finger. Very Oh, it gets weirder, folks. We're not even done yet. But Leo wakes up. Does he wake up again? Is this the bit?
Yeah. So he wakes up
He
again.
wakes up again. So Judge Dredd was a dream, thank God. And Mr. Walker's back. We basically get a near repeat of the sort of, what are you doing?
Yeah, a lot of the
doghouse.
lines are exactly the same. And
Yeah,
some, but with
and-
other ones inserted in between and some different things happening.
Well, this is where it felt the cuts, the editing felt very, very like stilted to me. Like ends of lines were being cut off, starts of lines. Do you know what I mean? It was very. I hate saying this. It felt very amateur.
Mm.
It was like someone filmed it and then they were just cutting wherever they thought. Like that, it didn't seem very precise in this scene and a few other scenes actually. We get may as well say it. We get a dickhead joke, which I was not expecting in this video either.
Oh yes, because it's the director says some people call me some. What does he say?
He says, "Oh, people call me Ed."
And
then Kit, without hesitation, just goes dickhead, and I was like, "Whoa, okay, all right." I guess
that's
we're
quite a
doing
good
that.
burn, though.
Do you know what? I was like, "Fair play. That's good. That's quick." I just wasn't expecting it, Phil, in my music video today. I wasn't expecting that. But then the insanity continues as they leave. Kit, the producer, and the director guy. Two new people come in.
Yeah.
Who I believe are Mega and Screwface.
Like gangsters.
I've got to say, I love these guys. I don't know why. I think because they're, again, very obvious, like, 90s pastiche. Like, they've got the loud, like, shell suits, and that he's got, like, big gold chains, and I don't know. I really warmed to it. I quite like these guys.
Yeah.
It's not really clear. He's like, Screwface, go check out this. It's not really clear why
they're there.
at
Yeah.
first. They just sort of appear.
Yeah, I don't really know what their role is particularly.
At this point, Phil, I was struggling. I was trying to just keep my head on my shoulders as to like what I was like, okay, Mega and Screwface, yeah, let's go for it.
So also in the before she went away, before these gangster guys come along, Kit has asked Leo out on a date. He asked her to take her out, which he's obviously very happy about.
Of course.
That's all I was going to say.
No, it's true. Sorry, very important. It's important though, very important. But in terms of getting Kit to like how to get Kit, Mega suggests that Leo takes her to a ragga dance or a ragga club.
I don't know what that is.
I'm guessing it's like a subgenre of reggae, perhaps. I might have to do a quick little Google search. Give me 2 seconds. So ragamuffin music, usually abbreviated as ragga, is a subgenre of dancehall and reggae music. The instruments primarily consist of electronic music, and there's a lot of sampling involved. So there you go.
There we go.
So he suggests taking her to a ragga club to listen to Tabby Ranks, who is a ragga artist. And we get treated. It's the next day, isn't it? That's right. It's the next day.
Yeah,
we're
nice
on
caption.
set.
The next day.
Yep. And it's we're back in the studio. Turns out the pop star they were filming for is Tabby Ranks, funnily enough.
Who
was
happens
also played
to be
by,
played, by Danny
Don Jules. He looks pretty good in this girl, with the short hair and the black car. I thought he looked pretty good.
Yeah,
Got a good image as a pop star.
And Kit is one of the models in the music video.
Of course. And this is where we hear the more electronic sounding version of Tunk that we heard towards the start. And just after reading that definition of ragga, that definitely, with the main instruments being electronic.
That makes sense with the sound.
I've got to say though, Phil, that it went on for far too long.
Oh, we got one of those in there. To be honest, this whole video went on far too long.
Yeah, that's true. But I hate saying it because obviously since this is meant to be a music video, like the fact we're getting more music, I should be like, yeah, great.
Yeah.
Like that's. But I don't know, like the weirdness of it is like cool at first. I find for like 30 seconds or so.
Yeah,
but
I don't like. Yeah, I
on
really don't like the style of the what they've done to the song in this. It's the same song. It's still tongue tied, but it's now we get 2 minutes of this weird, distorted version that I do not like. I love the original song, but I do not like this.
I feel if they'd just done like 30 seconds of it, that might have been enough. But yeah, as you say, it goes on for a full 2 minutes.
It does. Before we get the song, we get a bit of like dialogue between some of the characters, and the director at one point, like, he's giving his direction. He says, "Give it lots of sex."
Yeah.
Or in a more posh, he's like an Oxford boy or something.
Yeah.
Give it lots of sex. To which Leo, sitting watching by, goes,
I wish he'd have asked me that.
Yeah. Which is, good, fun quit, but it's, again, why? Like, why? You could say about this whole thing, really, couldn't you? Just, why? Why was this a thing?
yeah.
But it turns out, after we get the ragga version of Tongue Tied, all of this was just a dream.
Also
again?
just a dream, yes.
Also,
and
a dream
also
with doing some
happens,
Inception.
he wakes up when he gets kissed by her again. She comes over
That's
after
right.
recording the video, kisses him, and he wakes up again. And we get the same scene again with the
Yes.
boss saying the same lines, including the "you'll be out with your brothers on the street" or whatever.
Yeah.
It was.
And the acting and editing feels choppy again, which makes me think, because it's just in these scenes, maybe it was intentional, but even if it was, it, as I say, to me at least, it comes across, the acting and editing as like very amateurish.
Yeah.
But if that was their intention, fair enough, but it just, for me, it didn't come across.
So we're kind
very
of
well.
in like an Inception situation here, where it's been dreams within dreams within dreams.
Yeah, so we're assuming this is now like the real life, and
Well, he
Kit-
doesn't wake up again, so I'm assuming
He doesn't.
So.
That's true.
Kit
at first sort of pars him off,
Oh, yeah.
because he's
Why
like,
would I go out
"What
with you?"
about?" Yeah, well, I don't go out with any man with hair on his face. Which, as two bearded men, that's come on.
Now, weirdly, if this was dreams within dreams, it's psychic dreams or something like that, because Leo knows stuff, like the stuff from his dreams, like the people that he met in the dreams, like the two brothers,
Mega and
stuff,
Screwface,
Mega and
yeah.
Screwface. He meant like so and so, like the boss and the director and stuff start sentences, and he finishes them off with what's going to happen and who's going to come and things like that. So like he knows because it was in his dream, but it hasn't happened yet. So it's like.
It's
weird.
Yeah, it's odd. And then the cat runs off, and the red dwarf posse are here, and the cat is actually Frankenstein, which is
That's a nice
just as-
touch.
It is, but by this point, I was like, whoa, hang on. I was like, I'm so confused. Who are these Red Dwarf posse people? Why are they here? What's happening?
Oh yeah, because a bunch of what they call themselves a Red Dwarf posse. It's just a group of people just come in and grab the cat and say, "You've got our cat." It's like,
Yeah,
we're the Red
and
Dwarf posse. What?
yeah, that's that, and then it finishes up.
The
So
boss
Leo and
tries to
Kit-
hit him at one point, doesn't he? As well, the boss tries to like hit. That's some really bad editing in that bit as well.
Yeah. It's just the editing's just, let's face it, it's not that great. Leo and Kit go out on a date after all, I guess.
Yeah, it ends with a montage, doesn't it?
Yeah, like you see
walking down the
Cats the
street.
Musical.
Oh, yes.
Like the banner for it, which, haha, very good. They go to a club, which looks like a very 90s club, all those CRTs on the wall, bright lights and that. And then it just sort of ends.
Yeah,
It's
very weird.
Apparently, reading online, that I'm assuming the VHS tape of this, there was a further 10 minutes of like behind the scenes and like interviews with Danny John Jules. But unfortunately, well, from what I've looked at on YouTube, I can't seem to find that bit. I don't know if it's on any of the DVDs. Maybe it's one of those cases where the only way is to find an original copy of the VHS. So yeah, but the actual thing, the 20-minute thing. Oh, Phil, when you said to me, let's watch the the video, I was honestly just expecting like the actual song, the 4-minute song, and then maybe like, a minute beforehand, and then maybe a minute at the end.
Yeah, sort of, or even
not-
less, maybe. Like, because there's loads of songs that have done that. You got Britney Spears with that one where the Titanic montage bit in it.
Oh yeah.
There's songs do that, and they have like 30 seconds to a minute of like scene before and after. Not like this was most of it, and I get it. It's kind of more of a short film than it is a music video, but it's still I don't get the point of it.
Yeah, it's just
give me tongue tied.
Yeah, just give me it's very much an oddity. I can imagine if this got played on music stations, they only played the actual song bit. I doubt they showed the full shebang. As we said, it did get to number 17. Apparently, little fun fact, Danny John Jules was invited to go on Top of the Pops to help promote the single, but was unable to due to commitments in a London play at the time.
Oh, nice.
So that's we were robbed of a him dressed as Cat doing tongue tied. I think that could have been pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't know if we've said this yet, but it was released. It wasn't released as Danny John
Of
Jules
course,
single.
no, sorry,
it was released as the Cat.
The Cat, yeah, keeping in character. I mean, my closing thoughts on this film. I hate saying it because obviously, like, I've grown to love like the characters and the obviously the show and the actors, but this feels like a very odd cash grab attempt because, of course, this was 5 years after Tongue Tied had been in the show, right? Like first appeared, and I think you mentioned once, like, since Tongue Tied was reaction amongst fans, like they wanted it released as a single, like
Possibly.
for a long
I
time.
can't remember, but yeah, well, why not? It's a good song.
Yeah, I don't think fans expected a 20-minute short film about a film studio.
No,
and
I
Judge
suppose most
Dredd.
people that bought it probably never saw this. If you had
True.
to buy the VHS to see this, most people
Yeah.
wouldn't have done. Most people would have just gone and bought the cassette or the LP or the CD single version, and that would have been it.
Especially if like the VHS cover wasn't allowed to use any like Red Dwarf branding or anything. You know, again, depends on this whole thing with the BBC. In fact, I'll just pause. I'm just gonna have a quick look, see if I can find the VHS cover, see if I can see what it looks like. Oh no, I stand corrected. The VHS tape does have the Red Dwarf logo on it. It just says the Cat tongue tied the video, and the image is a drawing of the Cat, Dwayne Dibley, and Kit. So yeah, maybe that thing was bogus then. I'm not really sure about this whole BBC Grant Naylor involvement then, because I'd argue there's elements on both sides. There are moments where I'm like, okay, that implies that they didn't have clearance for certain things, but then they seemingly have clearance for other sort of things.
Yeah, I
So
think
I'm
it
not
might
too
be just
sure.
people getting confused with terminology and what different things mean. It might not have been made by the BBC. That doesn't mean they weren't involved in licensing things out, like the logo.
Yeah, but the fact this hasn't surfaced on any DVDs and Blu-rays, if licensing wasn't the issue, I wonder why they've tried to.
I mean, you'd have to get permission from that. Just because the BBC licensed something out to like the logo out, or Grant Naylor licensed something out to the production that's making this music video, doesn't mean that the people that are making that are obliged to license it back to them if they want to include it on a DVD. So it might be just that the music production company went, no, or we want more money for this if you're going to put it on there, and the BBC was like, it's not worth that much, sorry, and they just couldn't reach an agreement. Maybe that's that could be just what happened.
Who knows? But yeah, that, folks, is Tongue Tied. I mean, what are your closing thoughts, Phil? On this?
I love the song, and I actually think the 4 minutes of the actual song and the music video that goes with it, with the Red Dwarf cast in there doing their dancing and everything, and Danny John Jules with the girls dancing and everything. That's all good. I like that. I'd watch that. I'd watch that on MTV or VH1 back in the day.
Yeah.
But I just think the rest of it is really just weird and doesn't make any sense. The plots is just there isn't a coherent plot, and it's just,
I mean, if they set out to make something like that where the plot's really incoherent and random, I mean, well done. You succeeded. You did it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure to what benefit, but that's what we've got. Right. So I mean, I did this. I'm not sure if you did. We may as well do our regular segments.
Sure. I mean,
for this.
I didn't really, but we can. I can try and do it on the fly.
Sure, let's do it. So, did you have a favorite character in this production?
Did I have a favorite character? Is it Cat? I guess maybe.
As in, like, Cat when the song's on.
When the song's on,
because that's the only time you really see Cat, the character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, who else is there? It's not any of the three that come in. It's not the boss, the director, or Kit. They weren't great. Out of the three, I'd say the director was the best actor.
Yeah. I mean, my favourite character was, I've sort of cheated. I've given it to two. It's got to be Mega and Screwface.
Okay.
I don't know. I liked them. They made me laugh. So, got to give it to them. Funniest moment off the fly? There might not have been many, but if...
Funniest moment. I don't know. Just because it was so bizarre that it was funny, was the whole Judge Dredd stuff. It was like I didn't understand what was going. Why is this happening? But just the bizarreness of it is like, this is bonkers.
Yeah.
And I don't understand it. And in that way, it's kind of, I suppose, a bit funny.
Yeah. We're on the same page. I've also given it to the Judge Dredd bit for similar reasons. Just it's so left field and like what on it, like bizarre, very bizarre. And how many scutters out of 10 are you giving this?
Okay, so the song and the music video bit of the song are great. I would give that like, if I was just marking that, I'd probably give it like maybe an 8. But obviously the rest's kind of, well, there's some moments in it that are okay. But as a coherent whole, it's not coherent. So I don't know, maybe how generous do I want to be? I will give it a 5.
A 5. Slap bang in the middle. We've aligned again, Phil. I've also given it a 5, as in the whole production. Like you said, the 4-minute song, great. Just have that. But yeah, it's a bit incoherent. It's a bit random. It's cringe in some places. Nothing makes any sense. I'd love to pick the brains of who was ever like the leading producer, or I'd love to just sit him down and be like, what was going on, man? Like what was happening here? Not in a bad way. I'm genuinely fascinated as to like how they came to these conclusions. But yeah, it's just watching it today, 30 years on. It's a bit of a garbled mess, isn't it? It's trying to do the music video epic thing of being like 20 minutes long, like. Maybe not trying to be a thriller, but like something of that vein, a short film, and it just doesn't manage it, sadly. So I wonder maybe if it had been 20 minutes but had been fully immersed in the Red Dwarf universe, maybe do you know what I mean? If like before and after the song was actually scenes of the characters like interacting with each other, maybe that might have made it better.
That's
somehow.
Just an episode. That's what we got with Parallel
That is true.
Universe.
That is
if you
true.
get 20 minutes and 4 minutes of it happened to be a song, that's just an episode of Red Dwarf.
That is true. Good point. Well, that is tongue. I mean, if you were that curious, we watched it on YouTube.
I will put the link into the YouTube version description. So if you want to go to the YouTube version of this podcast, I'll put it in the description there.
So that's the 20-minute actual video. In regards to the last 10 minutes, don't know if that's on YouTube. It might be. I guess if you want to see the full thing, go and find the VHS tape.
Let us know if you've got it. Let us know if you've got the VHS somewhere hidden in a cupboard.
Have you hung on to that? Because of course people like to upgrade their formats, don't they? But if this never came out on DVD and Blu-ray, have you clung on, or have you passed it on by now? But that rounds off another episode of Everybody's Dead, Dave. I mean, thank you for sticking around and listening. Phil, where can these listeners find you on the internet?
Well, go to my YouTube channel where you can find the aforementioned YouTube version of this podcast, and you can leave us comments and stuff. My YouTube channel is just my name. It's Philip Hawkins, and I Doctor Who stuff, obviously this podcast, Star Trek stuff, MCU stuff, any geeky pop culture that I like, really. And then on Twitter, you can find me on @CultureFilter, with filter spelled PHILTER.
That's the one. And for myself, you can find me on YouTube at Adam Martyn. That's Martin with a Y, for lots of varied kind of videos. And on Twitter, it's Adam Martyn AMTV for daily ramblings. We've got a Twitter for the podcast at All Dead Dave Pod, so you can go and give us a follow there. And we will see you in the next episode, I guess. What should we give a little tease? Do we know what's coming after this, production-wise, or
no?
No.
we're
leave that in. That'll be good.
We're at an impasse between Back to Earth and starting Series 10, where we're doing a few specials, but we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants. I mean, we literally only decided to do this one today.
Yes, the day of recording, absolutely. But hey, that's half the fun, really, isn't it? I mean, we've had a wild ride talking about this thing. But don't worry, we'll be picking up with the main series eventually, with Series 10 going through to the Promised Land. So until next episode, we'll see you next time.
Bye.